What's going on, everybody? This is the 13th episode of the Forge Sports Podcast. We're coming at you live today. I'm Thomas.
My name's Trey.
We're gonna catch you up based on the Open at Austin, both NPO, FPO. Talk a little bit about Texas State. Talk about our predictions that we had. A few side topics that we've come up with. Foshi's Fun and Games. Thomas's top 5. We've got a loaded outline for you guys today.
And some new discs.
Hey, we do have some new discs. I do love new discs.
It's a classic. It's a every week staple in
Trey,
bag.
Trey, how do you want to start off the recap of the Open at Austin? I feel like there were a lot of mixed opinions, to say the least.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that just on the onset, the course itself kind of had, I would say, an interesting layout. It's very unique to the tour, I would even say. Like it didn't play at all like a traditional ball golf course would.
Right.
But it required a lot of unique shots, a lot of unique takes on what a disc golf course is.
Right.
People said it was pretty similar to Texas golf, which I can understand, but it was a little hard to watch at times.
Mm-hmm.
There were some shots that weren't just super aesthetically pleasing, but I did enjoy like kind of the mental aspect of playing a course like that, where you are required to, the landing zones are small.
Right.
And you have to have your distance control down perfectly, because if you don't, you're going to be OB often. And we saw people going OB all the time.
Oh, yeah. It definitely played a lot tighter. Round 1, the weather was actually atrocious.
Yeah, so bad. I think the hot round 1, was like 5 down.
Yeah, it was a whole lot more comparable to like traditional ball golf in terms of like hot rounds.
Yeah. But then the next round, Cole Riddall
absolutely shredded it.
Shot 12 down.
It was absolutely ridiculous.
It was insane.
I'm curious what that.
It was 1084, I believe.
Yeah, 1084, and he had a bogey sprinkled in there. Oof, that's just nuts.
Dude, if Cole cleans up those bogeys,
yeah,
it seems like he is very good at birdie.
Right.
Like his scorecards are often colorful. There's a lot of green, but then you see a lot of red as well. And so if you can clean up those, man, watch out.
We talked about the fact that the Las Vegas Challenge, I believe, he had one of the longer birdie streaks. I believe it wasn't the longest because Zach Arminghaus took that. But the prior year at Waco, I believe he had the longest bogey-free streak. It is the stat I found, which it wasn't as long as, say, like the Manio streak of Las Vegas. But he's got it in him to take it down. And maybe he's the younger guy. Over time, he's going to let those nerves settle in. You got to think round 3 after, like round 2, okay, like I've got some time. The pressure's not entirely on me just yet.
And he didn't shoot particularly well first round. He was 5 strokes off the pace at even.
Right.
But yeah, I think as he gets older and he, like, even this year, he just has more time to grow on the course. You're going to see him play more complete rounds, shave off some bogeys, and continue to place well in these tournaments.
Yeah, he's definitely got a ways to go. And I mean, he's got everything in him to like make it happen. Yeah, tied 14th. That's where I was trying to find. But like the very end of the round was particularly tough. Taking the double bogey right here on 15 and then a bogey on 16.
Yeah, I think at that point he knew what he had to do. Like he saw what Gannon had done on the course.
Right.
And so if you're going to try to win, you have to force things at that point and like make some big risks. And they just didn't pay off this time.
Yeah. It's worth taking though. And so I think he'll be a better golfer long term because of it.
Oh, for sure. Thomas, real quick before I already, spoiler, but Thomas, what were your thoughts on the course? And maybe you could talk a little bit about Paul McBeth's take on the course.
Okay. The course, I think it's hard to watch a course for the first time on coverage.
Yeah.
You have no clue how the Disc Golf Pro Tour is particularly going to take the angles versus some of the practice rounds that you watched.
Right.
They're probably going to take different angles than maybe you might have seen from somebody taking a completely first-person or really third-person type view. It was a little tough to watch at times, but the course was tough. I mean, it was not easy. I think the OB played pretty fair for the most part, and pretty typical for a ball golf course. I mean, having, that The greens, particularly being OB, that's a classic.
That's a standard thing.
Get that. The holes play particularly long, at least on the front nine, I believe. I believe the back nine played a little more scoreable at times.
Yeah, and that's where you saw Eagle go 8 down on
Right. I mean, it had
round 2.
It had the Eagleable 15, or was it 16? One of the two.
16 is Eagle.
Because 15 is a par 3, yeah.
Yes.
So 16 is the hole that was Eagleable, and so you had a couple of those.
Quite a few sprinkled in round 2. You see
Several round 3 from looking at it real quick. So I enjoyed it. I mean, I think it takes anybody a while to get used to a course.
For sure.
Paul Macbeth obviously hated.
Yeah, he was not afraid to say.
Which
was not a big fan.
It was the end of round 1. Post-round interview. He just goes up and just says, hey, I don't like this course. I don't remember the exact verbiage he used, but the sentiment behind it was entirely, I don't like this course, and I'm ecstatic that I only have to play 2 more rounds. And like that, he used the phrasing, only have to play 2 more rounds. And that says everything you need to know about how Paul Macbeth, who is a course designer, so he does a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
For him to say that and be in the lead, it would be a completely different thing if Paul Macbeth had played like a bad round or something.
Yeah, but he was in the lead.
There's one person that gets to say, I hate this course.
It's the person who's in the lead.
Right. It's not because you played bad.
Yeah, I do just, like, I don't know if I totally, well, not that my opinion matters much, but I don't know if I totally agree with Macbeth's take. I think it's just a unique style of play that's required for a course like that. And you did see a couple of times where Macbeth, like, showed, like, I think it was on hole 17, he didn't throw the best shot. But
yeah.
And then he wound up
going up, think you talk.
And then he wound up outside and took a huge, well, I'm lefty, but threw a big hyzer.
Well, he was attempting to do what he did the next round,
yes,
which was lay up on the first shot and go wide and outside around the path, like go way out of bounds rather than take the central fairway.
And he was trying to do it off the tee in the final round.
Okay. But the first or second round, I believe he jump putted off of the tee pad.
Yes, he did. And then but in the final round, he tried to go really big off the tee, big turnover.
Right.
And wound up off the fairway. And then his second shot, he went up far right on the hole.
Right.
And threw a hyzer, he was like on the edge of OB, threw a hyzer. It skipped on the OB, so there's like a little bit of ground play there, and wound up in the circle.
Yeah.
You'll have to go back and watch that.
No, I watched it. We were watching the live coverage, and I didn't see the tee shot. It was the second shot that he threw into the circle that was just stupid because there is that weird opening gap out right away from the gravel.
Right.
Which he, I think, in round 2 was going for. And so round 2 was that, like, flick on, like, a big Anheuser, like Sky Anheuser that brought him back in over the top.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And so it was weird seeing the difference because I didn't know if that was going into the final round. I was like, was that, like, his play? Was the goal, like, I don't want to have to go through that weird little center spot, so I'm just going to try to punch back into like that OB line and then go over the top. I was very confused round 2.
It was interesting for sure, but yeah, definitely a unique course. It'll be interesting to see what the tour does next year with it. There'll probably be some changes if they do.
I mean, you and I were talking like, why exactly do you take a new course and put it on the Elite Series prior to testing it out in a Silver Series type event? I'm sure. I don't actually know this at all. Is this the first? Do you know if this is the first time this course was played, or did they do?
No, this is the first time this course had been used for disc golf.
Okay, I didn't know if there was like some lead up type event that they had done in the past on this property.
There were definitely some like practice rounds done, and I think I mentioned last week where a few of the guys, Conrad and I think it was Connor O'Reilly's video, and others played on the property where they were thinking about playing. But other than that, this was a brand new course. And so
definitely
we'll see what happens though. But
Gannon freaking Burr.
What a win from the chase card. 2 weeks in a row, we get 2 chase card wins.
Didn't happen at all last season, did it?
It happened at the MVP.
Okay, right.
Simon won from Chase at MVP, but that was the only one. And now after 3 tournaments,
we've got 2.
So this is an exciting year for disc golf. It's exciting for the gatekeeper media.
Yeah, honestly, to get that footage as the chase card shows the importance of that. We continue to talk about parity in disc golf.
Yeah,
This is parity in disc golf.
absolutely. Though I do want to say, I think someone on the lead card could have had a pretty solid shot at it if he had not thrown out of bounds 3 times on the first 2 holes.
Good old Vinny.
Calvin, what could have been? Like I said, he threw out of bounds on his first 3 actual throws. He did throw out of bounds on his double bogey putt on 1, but that is the worst way to start. And he still finished on the podium.
Yeah, to finish tied for third, 3 strokes back of the lead, after taking a double bogey on the first hole,
Which he very
and then
easily could have
on
parred.
5. Yeah,
And he very easily could have parred.
it was definitely a tough start. I mean, he's still shooting like insane. And we were talking, and we'll get into like how our picks played out. Calvin ends up podiuming, even though we didn't think that was going to happen after the beginning of that round. It definitely looked like a tough.
Yeah, I thought he was like immediately done, but winds up shooting 7 down on the final round.
He got that eagle on 16 was a clear reason to get him into that podium opportunity.
So, but yeah, Gannon takes it down, beating Simon by 2, and Calvin and James Proctor by 3. James Proctor popping back up again.
I love seeing James Proctor play well. Funny enough, or really not funny enough, but I love that the cowboy hat was the trophy.
Yes.
I love that.
Oh, it was awesome.
That was the coolest trophy out. Like, the only other one will always be the bell that James Conrad got. I think that's kind of awesome. The Waco trophy actually was. And I think
It looked clean, man.
really good one. But the cowboy hat, that's awesome.
If we're going to do something unique, and that's kind of the road disc golf is going down these days.
Right.
What a better way to do it. You're in Texas. Lone Star Disc is running the tournament. They're the main sponsor.
Right.
You've got to have a cowboy hat. I don't think you go any other way. So it worked out great.
It was a cool way to see it. And it just looked awesome. Cowboy hat.
He looked awesome in the cowboy hat, and he looked awesome in that final round.
What do you think about him on 18? You know, he was up by Simon and him were they on the same card, or was
No, Simon was on 3rd, and Gannon was on Chase.
How do you feel about Gannon really going for it on 18 rather than laying up? Like, obviously it pans out for him, but that's a tough, like, that's not an easy green. It's not a terribly difficult hole for everybody, but there's a bunch of trees that'll be on the right-hand side, spectators and path up on the left, going uphill. Like, I felt like it was a risky move, but he just went for it and then had not the closest putt of all time, but went for it rather than laying up. I was like, man, Gannon like wants to secure this thing.
Yeah, that's what I think was the biggest thing is he didn't totally know what was going to happen on the lead card because they were a few holes back.
Right.
And so if you look at it, we'll look at scores here. But
yeah, it's like we're a couple holes back. You didn't know if like Calvin had a real chance and then all the way back.
And then Cole before his double bogey, I think.
Cole was 14th, so yeah, he was right here.
So if this,
17,
it needed something big to happen, he would have needed the eagle and a couple more birdies. But I get it. I think Gannon made the right decision to be aggressive and to secure his spot because he's confident in those shots. I don't see why you wouldn't do that. He stuck to his game plan. That's what he did all weekend, and so I don't see why you wouldn't do that.
Right. You mentioned the idea of Calvin being the best player this season.
Oh, it's not close. Calvin has podiumed all 3 tournaments.
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry.
He's gotten first and third. It's an average finish of 2.33, and no one's really even close to him. You can make the case for Kyle Klein.
Right.
He's got the win. He's got a 4th and a 10th, putting him in an average finish at 5th.
And it's not to say that's bad. It's just best is best.
Yeah, no, Kyle is this. So it's Calvin, Kyle, the field. At this point, they're the two. Like Calvin and Kyle are the 2 best players right now.
You mentioned Kevin Jones. I see it here, 7 and a third. Proctor with an average of 9th, which those are very respectable, really good. But when you're talking about best, it's not It's just not it when Calvin's playing the way he's playing, and Kyle just barely behind.
Yeah, those two guys are absolutely shredding it. It's exciting to see, like, and Paul comes up in 5th in this list, Paul McBeth. And so it's interesting because we're not used to, like, not thinking about Paul. Even, like, Paul normally even has good starts.
Right, but we've had 3 unique winners in 3 events, which is abnormal,
Right.
and I love it.
It's good for the sport.
So, I keep my eyes on the professional pickleball scene, and week in and week out, it's like the Ken Climo era of pickleball. It's Ben Johns, Anna Lee Waters, and then them two together winning each of their respective.
Almost every tournament.
Yeah, they haven't. Every time they've played, they've done it. There's only been like one time that Anna Lee Waters didn't win like mixed doubles or something.
Well, no,
No, she didn't win.
She didn't win
normal doubles.
Yeah, I think there was a tournament a couple weeks back where they did. I think both of them. I think they lost mixed doubles.
It might have been that, and it's like, of all things, like they haven't lost like their singles divisions at all, and it's just week after week after week. It's the same people even playing. It's like Ben Johns playing Federico Staxrud every single week, and then singles, other than the one time Colin Schick played, and I get bored a little bit when I see those same people playing every single week for the championship and it not being close.
No doubt. And so that's like why disc golf is so exciting right now, because there are legitimately, 30 guys who could go in, and if they have a hot round, they're going to win the tournament.
Yeah.
And so if they have a hot tournament, they will win. It's not a situation where Paul can have a decent round and still win a tournament, decent tournament and still win it. Yeah, he can get top 10s playing not at his highest level, but he can't win anymore.
Right.
At his highest, and not playing at his highest level.
Right.
Which is,
you see so many names on this list that you wouldn't have seen several years ago. I mean,
Austin Turner, Ezra Aderhold.
I mean, Mason Ford's been playing, but it's not somebody that you would consider as like would have historically been winning week in and week out. Like,
right. And then even down like guys like Una Heinen, and if you go down a little further, Mason Martinez, who had a great tournament. It was super fun to watch him go out and play super well. Just a lot of new names, new faces. It's good for the sport.
It is very good for the sport. It keeps it interesting. We can play fantasy disc golf and like actually root on players and see like crazy results that you never would have guessed. Like,
totally. And which is, again, it's like it makes things more exciting for the viewer when we're learning about new golfers. We're seeing new people pop up on lead cards and chase cards. It's like it's creating like more. The parity is just providing more access to the players and more access for the fans to see what's actually happening in the sport.
Yeah, I also think it gives just a great like incentive for a young person to say, I want to play disc golf because I see all these unique people winning. It's not just Michael Jordan and I've got no chance.
Right.
It's not just LeBron and there's no way I'm going to be the GOAT.
Yeah, you look at a guy like Gannon Berger, he's 17 years old. You look at Cole Riddell, he's 18. There's several young athletes that are, I mean, even Eagle is still young. I don't know.
Like 24, I believe.
Yeah. So it's like these guys are,
forget that Eagle's older or younger than
the rest of us. Yeah, which is wild. What are we doing with our lives?
I mean, obviously filming because we can't play, right?
Exactly.
And at least at their level.
Yeah, definitely not at their level.
So the FPO side, Paige Pierce finally comes back and wins one.
But was that really the biggest thing that happened? Like, I don't want to take anything away from Paige. Yes, she won, and she outplayed everybody on the tournament, and that was great. Like, she had a great tournament. But she, like, as I was writing this up, I was like, Paige Pierce takes down Katrina Allen, Missy Gannon, and Jessica Weiss. And then it's like, did Tatar not play? No, she played.
And did not play very well, which Tatar made a post talking about the fact that we're seeing it here, is there is more parity in the FPO side. It's obviously not at the exact level of MPO.
But it's getting there.
Right. And so Kristen talked about that. This was the end of her very long podium streak.
Yeah. It's been since the 2021 Worlds that she has not finished it on the podium
Right.
at an event. Elite Series, doesn't matter what it was. She had finished on the podium for a good year and a half.
Right.
And so she did manage to finish top 5, grabbing that 5th place spot, but shooting a 929 rated round at the end.
I feel like the golf for the FPO side is just constantly getting better. Like just rating wise, even obviously, and we talked about this for a while. I learned this weekend that I hate ratings, but we won't go down that. Matt and I and our friend Brady played a tournament this weekend, and I found out I hate ratings because I played a good round of golf and got the shaft.
Well, I've been trying to tell you for a while, ratings don't matter.
They don't matter. Although, honestly, after thinking about that, it made me feel better about my game because, honestly, if I take what I think that could be rating-wise and what my round really should have been comparative to people in lower divisions that played a different layout slightly, it was good golf for the weekend. And I only, with the ratings that I don't like, played like 5 points under my rating, which is completely fine. Like, Astroka at that event was playing like 13.5 points.
Oh, wow. That's...
Yeah, it was. There were a lot of really short holes on the first layout, which I didn't capitalize on any of. I got birdies on like only the longer holes, which is dumb.
Well, you had a hot start, though. I was checking the scores, and I was
4 under.
I was like, oh, four down through 7. What are you doing? And then sent it to his wife, sent it to Grace, and then
I immediately
double booked.
on the one hole that was different. One hole that was different, but neither here nor there. But ratings are getting better, and I don't know. You just see so many more people on here that could come out and take it down.
Oh, for sure. And I think this is the first time we've seen Kristen struggle in this kind of way. She had her problems at Waco, but figured it out by the end of it. In this tournament, she just did not play her game, and I think some of that has to be attributed to injury, don't you think?
Yeah.
Coming off surgery, still she even said Waco was a warm-up tournament, and she's still figuring out her game to some extent, and I think she's definitely going to bounce back, but it was just a little odd to not see her on the podium, to not see, like on the PDGA website when you're looking at the live scoring, her name not pop up, her face not
be
pop
there
up.
immediately.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I have to look down a little bit to find her name.
This is Paige's first win since July of last year at the European Open. So it had just been a while since Paige had taken one down. So I'm sure that's good for her, especially when she's got kind of like a chip on her shoulder for wanting to win. Is it her 6th?
Yeah, that'd be the 6th.
And they'll put her as the most winning, or is she already the most winning?
She's tied, so she would be solo if she picks up the 6th.
So we'll see if she can take a world championship down this year over the expected Tatar. We'll see how that goes. Let's talk a quick points update.
Yeah, let's do it.
I took it down.
Thomas absolutely killed his picks this week.
Just chef's kiss.
Particularly on the MPO side.
I went perfect. And all 3 of my people were on the podium.
Yeah, and he did more than you needed.
Yeah.
So he picked Gannon to win. He picked Calvin to podium,
Which he came back and did podium. It wasn't looking hot.
but he made it happen for you.
He did. He was thinking about me when he made that.
Oh, absolutely. And so was James Proctor when he shredded the course in Sunday.
Me and Matt both got points for James Proctor. He's sure he may be like outside the top 30 rating wise, but it won't be for long.
Oh, not for long. The man is, statistically speaking, based on finish, is the 4th best golfer this season.
Right.
So that was a steal of a pick for you.
He definitely was this.
But Tristan Tanner was so close.
He's close.
He was a couple of strokes away from snagging that. So I still feel pretty good about my pick on Tristan Tanner.
And then I'm, I believe, the only person who got any FPO points with Katrina Allen getting the podium finish. And I was very close to Caroline Henderson, who took a double bogey in hole 17, which is a very tough hole anyways. I mean, it's not like out of the picture to get a double bogey there, but she was top 10 with 2 holes left to play. So I was very close to taking
Not that you needed any more points.
Hey, but I like to take a lead early on. I'm currently at 18 points. Matt is at 12 points, and Trey is sitting there. You wrote a sad face on it.
Yeah, I've got a sad face because I only have 5.
The sad face on my computer, I've got a PC, and you've got a Mac. The sad face over here kind of looks more depressed.
Mine's just like a kind of a small frown.
And generic. Mine has like actual googly eyes that really look sad.
Well, that's kind of how I felt after not getting any points this week. But don't worry, I'm gonna bounce back.
We want to get into some Texas State's preview. We won't do it like an entire full-on preview for Texas State's. It's a Silver Series. We won't even be doing Forge Fantasy this week. It's it's time for a 3-week break off.
Yeah, we're taking
We hit
quick hiatus before MCO.
But we'll give a prediction on who we think will win.
Yeah,
and on both sides.
Yeah, and I will mention quickly, just this event was an Elite Series last year, and
Right.
relegated to Silver Series.
I would assume because Waco and Austin, and they don't want to do 3 in Texas.
Right, and I think part of that too is like they are changing the criteria year by year on what kind of venue can take on an Elite Series, and so there might have been some of that. But the field is still really good, Thomas. They've got I started to take a screenshot of the folks that were playing, and it was too big. So I grabbed the notable names that were not playing, and Paul was not playing. I think he posted a picture of his finger, and it seems like he's got a pretty nasty finger cut.
Oh my God! So
Yeah,
that looked rough.
Yeah.
Jacob sent me that one. I hadn't seen it, but yeah, he mentioned like the split middle finger instead of the left hand portion of it. Don't look at this if you're at work necessarily. It's not safe for work, but the picture is like the second one on his post about his recap of the event, and he shows like a picture of the injury. I will not be putting that on the podcast.
Nah, I'd prefer that you didn't. But yeah, Paul's not playing.
You still got plenty of big names. I mean, it's really Paul and Chris aren't playing, and maybe
Eagle and Simon aren't playing either.
yeah,
Corey Ellis and Drew Gibson. But so you've still got Ricky, you've got AB,
plenty of
Isaac
names.
Robinson, our boy Paul Oman's there.
Boy, Paul Oman. We go out there and absolutely shred it. Hey, shout out to Paul Oman, the first pro to follow us on the Forge Sports Media Instagram page. So, Paul, this one's for you.
Always, man. Thanks for supporting us and following us.
Hey, we finally hit over 100 subscribers or 100 followers on Instagram. So that's a big deal.
Hey, we're growing.
What we want is 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So if you're watching this currently, make sure to hit that like button, but particularly hit that subscribe button.
And turn on notifications so you can know when we're posting every single week.
Definitely.
But let's get those picks. Who do you think's going to take this one down?
Well, I would almost guarantee you Ricky is going to drop out. He made a post about it being a bad idea that he played at Austin. His hand is swollen up. Normally, in good health, I would pick Ricky because he almost always wins Texas State's.
Yeah, it's just that would be the super safe pick, except for the fact that he's got a swollen hand and he will more than likely drop.
But my pick in the MPO division, he's going to take it down. Anthony Barella, because of a little bit less pressure with it being a Silver Series event.
I like
He's the second highest rated person on this list. I mean, so it's not like out of the picture, but Anthony just hasn't seemed to put it all together for one term. He plays really good.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that, just with seeing Calvin and Gannon both there. I'm going to go Calvin Heinberg. I think.
There's no points at stake, so I'm gonna call the Anthony Barella one, so that if it hits, it's just kind of like a got it.
And then I wouldn't be surprised to see James Proctor work his way into a podium again.
Right.
Would love to see DAWG. I mean, would love to see him work his way back up. He's had a couple of those tournaments. But
Greg Barsby always plays good at Texas State's as well.
he does. So there's a handful of guys that could do well, but our picks are Thomas is taking AB and I'm taking Calvin.
Let's make it happen. And then on the FPO side, pretty solid, except Paige is not playing the event.
Correct. While I'm thinking about it, just real quick side note, shout out Evelina Solidin.
She actually played a good event.
She played a good event. She I think she tied for 7th.
Yes, that is correct.
Which tied with Ella Hansen. Shot a 1,003 rated round, final round. I know we don't necessarily, we just talked about not loving ratings,
But they're an okay indicator as to how you play.
and I do know that round 2. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, I'll do it.
So, I do know round 2, Evelina was 67% from C1X.
Really?
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Evelina.
Great shooting. And
Hey, it's those tips from Paul finally coming to fruition.
yeah, it just takes some time to like change up your game, but
But she heated up over the course of 953 to 976 to 1003. There's just this constant
hey,
to the moon.
that's what you like to see. And so that's going to be my pick on the FPO side. I think Evelina, again, you talk about a little less pressure. This isn't an elite series. This is a smaller event. I think Evelina is going to throw some amazing drives and take this one down.
Yeah. All right. Man, this is a tough one. Man, I want to make like a wild pick. Hey, let's go with my classic. Caroline Henderson's going to take it down. She's been shooting way over her rating.
Yeah, I mean, her rating went way up. She's 921 now. I think she was like
910 or something like that before. And even at the Open at Austin, she was playing.
She was 902.
She shot 968 for the event.
Yeah.
And so she's shooting up there in the area. So I think less pressure at the event meant that she was more prepared to shoot a really good round.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
But, a 975, a 951, and a 979, she's shooting pretty good golf. I mean, that's hard to say when you've got people shooting 1,000-rated rounds, taking down wins.
But she's new to the game. She's she's very new on tour. So it's impressive to see what she's doing so far. And she's only going to.
I think it's pretty awesome that her and her husband sold their house, bought an RV, and are traveling around. That's awesome.
That is pretty.
That's like the disc golf dream right there. So
it is.
Shout out to y'all.
Yeah, for sure. One thing on coverage that I have just noticed, even throughout the years, but I just particularly noticed it at the Open in Austin, and it was caddies.
Yes. So, and we had a couple conversations around that before, but
yeah, and so I've noticed in particular that there's a mix of the way that players go about caddies.
Right.
So when I was at USDGC last year, Chris Dickerson had his wife, Brittany, with him, but was not carrying the bag. So she was his caddy, but was there more for moral support.
Yeah, it was very emotional, moral versus physical carrying.
Right.
Or advice giving.
Exactly. And then the rest of the card, James Conrad, Kyle Klein. Kyle Klein had a caddy, but James Proctor and James Conrad both carried their own bags.
Right.
And then Kyle's caddy did seem to be like a friend that kind of they were talking through game and things like that.
Right.
And so it did feel like there was a variety of things going on there. And then even on the lead card, the one in particular I noticed, and I've seen him have a caddy before, but Cole Ridolin was on his own bag. Right. He carried his own bag in that round. And I just always wondered why that was the case, or why players would choose to have a caddy that wouldn't carry the bag. I think it makes a sense in Chris Dickerson's case, just because it seems like he really loves having his wife.
Yeah, if it's your wife, your significant other, whatever it be, yes, I can understand.
But also, don't make your wife or significant other carry the bag.
Right. That's a tough one right there.
But yeah, Cole was the one I noticed in particular, just because he was on lead card. He was making a lot of great shots.
Right.
And I've personally wondered, isn't that not a hindrance? Is it not a hindrance to have to carry your own bag, after day? I know it's not a huge, heavy thing, but
no, but I mean,
over time,
it is a lot over the course of 3 or 4 rounds.
Yeah. And so we actually reached out to Cole, who was kind enough to give us a response. I just asked him more of why would you, and what are some pros and cons to having a caddy or not having a caddy? And I'll just read his quote. I was just very thankful that he reached out. Advantages of not having a caddy are staying in your own headspace and not letting anyone else distract you or what you're trying to accomplish on the course. Perks of a caddy: having someone carry the bag and get that weight off your shoulders, and to hype you up in case something good or bad happens.
Right.
When you're dealing with that much adrenaline and focus, the weight of the bag is certainly not an issue. You're so amped up for the round, and what's next? What's next that you don't have time to even think about being tired. A caddy might be something that I do in the future, but I decided not, just to completely live in the moment for myself. And then he went on to talk about how it's important for a player to be able to get into that mental space on their own
Right.
prior to committing to a caddy, because you're not always going to be able to have that caddy. So to be able to like get in that mental space on your own in those situations where you know your caddy has to leave on a Sunday, or like you can only have a caddy for a couple of rounds.
Right.
Like he stressed the importance of that. And so I thought that was good insight. I thought I kind of had just gone on the physical aspect of it just makes more sense to have someone carry your bag, because that's literally a weight off your shoulders.
Yeah. It makes sense. And he had, I think, I can't remember if you mentioned this or not, but it was either Waco or Vegas. He did have a caddy, and I believe, was it his brother?
It was a good friend.
Good friend. So he had used a caddy and then proceeded to, and more than likely based on like, not having that same person was based on like just that person's time to be able to do it, and them not being able to travel, whatever it be. But also it makes sense to like want to be able to get in your headspace. I personally would rather carry my own bag in a tournament because I'm so used to doing it in practice that it's weird for me not to be carrying my bag. It feels like not like practice.
Oh, like I guess I hadn't really thought about that either. I definitely prefer a caddy because because I change up the way I do it completely when I go to a tournament if I don't have a caddy. Normal, I've got a Suga cart. I'm gonna actually probably move on from it because I switched bags.
You did. You got the pound bag.
No, squash bag.
Or squash bag. You got the squad up, the Squatch.
Yeah, the Legend 3.0. Love the bag. Shout out to Squatch for that.
That is a solid looking bag.
They've made a fantastic bag that has eliminated my need for a Zuka cart.
Yeah. Personally, I like bags way more than I like carts. Like, even just the look on the course.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I don't love the look of the cart, but I did appreciate the convenience of, like, being able to, like, to have that weight off my shoulders. It, like, I'm a guy who carries a lot of discs and had a really heavy bag.
Right.
And so to be able to put that into a cart and save a little bit of energy was, like, it added value for me.
Right.
And so I think I've always enjoyed when my wife has caddied for me, or if my brother would caddy for me.
Right. Or I would come, like, after a tea time start round. If I went before, I would come and like carry your bag.
And we would do, and we've done vice versa as well.
But it is interesting because you like the weight off your shoulders, where I'm more like I want to be in my zone, like just carrying my bag in its simplest form, just like feels like my practice rounds that I've done. Which, I mean, to each their own. That everybody, it's all about what works for you at the end of the day.
For sure, for sure. I just thought it was an interesting topic and something I still think as the sport grows more and more, I think we're going to see more and more caddies.
Right. One interesting. This is a slightly different topic, but it does have to do with the people around you. This is a conversation I had with some people this weekend at the tournament that I played at. So, 2-round tournament, right? Shotgun start, 2 rounds, 1 day. First round, random people. Second round, it's based on your scores. I came to the conclusion, and I played with really good people overall. Like, everybody was really good this weekend that I played with.
Yeah.
But I like round 1 way more because everybody is way more casual because nobody's done anything to say, I could win this.
Oh, that does make sense.
In a second round, like, I absolutely loved everybody on my card first round. Everybody's joking around, having a good time, getting to know each other. And then round 2, played with good people as well. But you could tell there was more tension, more like I really need to focus in, or I'm getting upset because I'm not playing well and now it's affecting me. Like, whereas round 1 is more like I haven't shown myself that I can play well. But if you play well round 1 and then you start not playing well round 2, it like really brings down the mood. And so the entire card you can just feel like a little bit of like
there's tension.
Yeah, and I hated it.
I've only been on a lead card a couple of times, and I'll tell you, it changes the way you play. One time I did actually play well, finished second, and it was with guys that I'd played multiple rounds with.
Right.
It was a really fun card. We had a good time. But the second time it happened, it was super tense. It was like, and there was one guy in particular who was just like, vehemently like, just, I had to call him for a courtesy violation because he started swearing at us, those kinds of things. And so it was, it definitely changes the flavor of what your round is like.
Right. And it bothered me is not the right way to put it, because again, I think everybody I played with, there have been times where it's bothered me in the past. This time in particular, I really did like the character of everybody that I played with, but you could tell there were people that were generally upset, maybe taking it what I would view as maybe a little bit too serious, based on us playing in the. I was playing MA2. I'm a step up from like the rec. Like if it was rec, I always hate when people get like absolutely angry. It's happened before. It's just not a fun time. You're playing in the recreational division. It's called that for a reason.
It's not called that anymore.
What is it called now?
It's just MA3.
They don't call it rec now?
No, that's completely gone. They got rid of that because, I mean, in reality, the name doesn't make a lot of sense because, like, the people who are playing MA3 and the requirements to be able to play an MA3, I wouldn't call an 899 rated player a recreational player.
Right.
And so they did eliminate the names.
Call it mixed amateur.
Yeah, mixed amateur 1, 2,
Wow.
3, 4. Yeah.
I didn't know that they did that.
Yeah, so I think it's a good change. I think it
I would
makes sense.
agree too.
But I do agree that, like, if you're playing an MA3 and you're getting, like, that was the division I was playing in.
Yeah.
I wound up playing awful round 2 and, like, not even cashing.
Yeah.
But there was a guy in particular who just lost his marbles over us calling his disc out of bounds.
Right.
And it's like, things like that only happen when you're on a lead card or only happen after round 1. It's because round 1 is, like you said, it's lax.
It's lax. You're meeting new people. And in this case, I was with people I had never met before. So, big round 1 fan. So, you want to tell us about some new discs?
Yeah. Good transition there.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about,
Yeah,
we got 3 on the list.
Yeah. So, again, I'm not picking out every single disc because that would take a really long time. But I'm picking out notable companies or discs that I find interesting. And so the first one I got is the Ronin from Infinite Discs. That Infinite Disc, obviously their discs are manufactured by Innova, but they've got a new mold coming out. Looks like it's going to be about an 8 to 10 speed. It's pretty similar to the Latitude 64 Pioneer, which is a 9-speed overstable driver.
Right.
And so it's looking pretty similar to that. It's something that Infinite doesn't have in their lineup right now. So I think it's a great addition for them.
Right.
I think that'll be a great disc. And then the one that I'm most excited about is the Avalanche from DGA.
Yeah.
I've not thrown a ton of DGA, but
with one that wait a second.
yeah, so
They posted about this on their Instagram.
yeah, they did, and they said, and Cole threw it on his story. I saw a couple of guys throw it on their story.
Like them asking, like, hey, guess what? Okay, so they did announce it, even though this has probably already been on the PDGA approval list prior.
No, it came on today. So this is unlike a lot of companies. Normally they will post a test flight or either post a test flight and then it gets approved and then people can buy it, or it gets approved and you don't hear anything for 6 months.
Right.
Like there's that Axiom approach disc. I can't remember what it's called. It looks like a Zone. I can't remember the name, but we haven't heard anything about it since it got approved. And I really want to throw it.
That makes sense seeing that now, because I was like, I saw a DGA post about it and asked people to guess what they thought the name was, and several people were saying something related to it. I think some people said Avalanche.
And Big Germ even commented and said it had to be Avalanche.
Right.
Which is funny.
The artwork definitely looked like a mountain of sorts.
Yeah, it looked like an A, so we just had to figure it was Avalanche there. It's going to be a 7 to 9 speed. Looks pretty similar to the Discmania Splice.
Mm-hmm.
So very overstable.
Right. And then what's this last one? You had a tough time trying to figure out what really it was.
I'm gonna say Kroot.
That would make sense
based on other names of discs from Castoplast.
Right.
So yeah, the Kroot from Castoplast. It looks like it's gonna be somewhere between a 10 and a 12 speed. And when I was looking at disc comparisons, I use the advanced disc search from tridiscs.com, and they do a really good job. And they've got it a really intuitive way to like pare down the discs, so you can see what these new discs might fly like. According to Tridiscs and according to some of the disc dimensions, we're looking at a disc similar to the Dynamic Discs Renegade, or the Innova Steer, or the Millennium Aries, somewhere in that. So it's looking like an understable, hybrid, almost distance driver. So probably a good disc for someone who is getting into the game, who's been in it for a little bit and is ready to jump up from maybe a fairway to a hybrid or distance driver. So might be one for you new players to watch out for. So those are the new discs for this week. We're going to jump straight into Foshi's Fun and Games.
Let's make it happen. You prefaced me on the topic.
Yeah. This is one I want you to be prepared for when you actually lose this draft.
Oh, yeah.
So
I thought about it just a little bit, tried to... we'll change from here now that I got clarification on where we're going.
We're going to draft 5 discs based solely on name. Nothing about flight, nothing about characteristics, nothing about brand, only name.
Yeah.
So it's just names you like. It's completely subjective, and you're still going to lose. But I'm going to let you go first.
All right. I'm going to start off with the Lone Star Warbird.
Oh, that is a great name. That was on my list for sure. So I'll go back to back in this sneak draft, and I've got to take the Clash Disc Cookie.
Got it.
And I've got to go with the Mid Disc Jackalope. Those are just super fun names. Like, how could you not want to throw a disc that's called a cookie?
Yeah,
It's just an added bonus that it flies super well. It's in my bag. Love it. But
I need to try that disc out.
Yes, you do.
Man, I didn't think a crazy amount on these. I'm gonna go with my number 2 pick as the Innova Roadrunner.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't think about Innova on this one at all. So
They've got so many discs.
So many discs.
It's ridiculous. And then I'm going to go with the Innova Firefly.
Okay, yeah. Little Nate Sexton there from there.
Yeah.
For sure.
That was another one where it's just kind of like a unique but fun name, even though I've never thrown it.
Yeah, I've thrown it. It's a good putter. But, so I'll go back to back again. I'm going back to Clash, and I got to take the Popcorn.
That's a good one.
The Popcorn. What a name. I love the way the Clash names their discs. It's
all based on like
food and drink. It's really fun.
It's unique for sure.
Oh, for sure. And then I'm going to go back a little more mainstream. We go with the Discraft Predator.
Ooh.
So you got these fun names in there, and then you've got the Predator. I'm a big fan. I love that. I've thrown the disc. It's a good disc, but more importantly, the name is sick.
All right. Well, you were kind of in the same area as me. All right, so the camera died. Usually when we hit somewhere in that like 45 to 50-minute area. So you had your most recent pick as...
So I picked the Predator.
That's correct. And then I was going to tell you that...
You're going back to back.
Correct. And I was going to go with the Discrafted Venom.
Oh,
I think it just
dope.
So when you said Predator, I was like, oh man, you sound like a loser for saying Venom, but
no, it's a great name.
Venom is just a really fun one.
So what's your last pick?
As I was trying to cool down this camera, I think I had something in mind that I was gonna okay, this is one the Discmania Cloudbreaker sounds dope.
It does sound.
I love the name of it, even though it is a mainstream disc. I was deciding between that and going with like an MVP Photon type disc.
Yeah, the MVP names are fun, but they're not my favorite. Cloudbreaker was not on my list, so I'm not too disappointed with you taking it.
Who you go with?
It was a good pick. I have. Should I do it?
Oh, I'm not gonna say it's a great pick, but I do think it's an absolutely hilarious pick.
I am going with the Asuma Disc Santa.
That was on my list.
I mean, it was definitely on the short list. I still can't find any info on Asuma Disc. If you guys happen to listen to Forge Sports Media, we would love to try the Santa.
If there's any way, any of you listeners, if you are the manufacturer or know the manufacturer,
website now.
Can we purchase this? We can.
Okay.
We have to buy this one though. That one looks cool. Maybe these two.
Or maybe the base.
Just go for some base plastic putters.
Okay.
Is this in euros?
Yeah. So
We'll see how expensive this is to get later.
But we'll make this happen.
We'll make it happen. So that's Foshi's Fun and Games. Now we got Thomas's top 5. I've got an absolute banger this week.
All right, bring it.
All right.
We told me you're disappointed with last week's.
It's hard because I liked the topic itself, but I don't necessarily want to just like say everybody that is on the list just looks like they could be a nerd.
That's a fair point.
Like, it's not a rip on anybody, but if you look smart, you look smart. But this week we've got a unique one. I'll preface this one with Dave at Gatekeeper Media is fine. All right, we know if you haven't already seen, Evil McMahon threw a grenade. Absolute stunner, like holy moly, hits the head of Dave from Gatekeeper Media. That's a tough one.
We're so glad he's okay.
Thank God, honestly. Like, that's one of those where, like, I can't remember. Maybe he had to get stitches, or somebody speculated that he probably would need to get stitches.
He definitely would with the way that it cut open to his head.
But I mentioned this topic from the fact that really it does beg the question. There should probably be head protection if you're out in the middle of the fairway as a cameraman.
Hey,
that is
hard hats for disc golf.
Literally, yes.
I don't think that's a bad idea at all.
No, I think it begs the question on, like, do these companies, because obviously this is Gatekeeper. You've got Jomez doing coverage. You've got the actual Disc Golf Pro Tour doing live. We should start talking about that. But in a slightly silly way, let's talk about the 5 items that I think would be awesome to see people wearing on coverage.
Okay, bring it.
Coming in at number 5, we're coming at this from a budget-friendly end. You show up to the tournament, you need something real quick. You're going to go to the dollar store, and you're going to pick up a metal colander, a strainer. You're going to wear that on your head.
What?
It's budget-friendly. I mean, the holes will allow for airflow. It'll keep you cool throughout the round, but if worse comes to worse, you're going to be safe.
Are you?
Yeah, and we'll note none of these are just strictly a helmet. They are things that are not helmets.
But they could
provide
as a helmet.
Could provide adequate head protection.
Okay.
All right. Number 2, we're going to go with another budget-friendly option on your way, a traffic cone.
That's like I feel like you... I'm not even going to try to argue with you. What's number 3?
Turn heads only. Yeah, you could literally, they would provide awesome protection because, like, if it hits you up top, it's going to fly off. It's going to, like, push the disc away if it hits anything other than the top. And even then, you got a lot of protection. Number 3, we're going to go for a more traditional hat type option. This one may be a little more phony. We're going to go with a cheese head hat.
Oh, for, like, the Packers?
Yeah, that one's going to provide a lot of squishy protection up top.
Squishy protection sounds like an oxymoron, but
yeah, like
this is my favorite one so far because it does provide some like entertainment value as well.
But it also is a legitimate topic of we need head protection for those guys because I don't want to see somebody actually die.
Yeah, but so why would we put them in a helmet? Let's just give them a cheese head.
Yeah, let's give them a cheese head. Coming in at number 2, we're gonna go with good old fashioned bubble wrap. I mean, we're just going to fold layers and layers in a bubble wrap.
You lost me on that one. I've been able to follow up until this point.
We're talking about, okay, bubble wrap hits, you hear all of the pops, you know that the person has been protected, now it's time to replace the bubble wrap with a new set of...
So you hire a bubble wrapper?
Yes. You have somebody in a golf cart that goes around and delivers new bubble wrap as needed, hopefully never during the tournament.
Right.
My favorite one, number 1. This was my immediate thought. This provides both protection and a snack on the course, a watermelon. You cut a watermelon to look like an MLB cap to where, like, you cut it in, you can see through it. It sits maybe a little longer in the back, kind of like a mullet almost. Provides plenty of protection. You can use it to have a little snack on the go.
Oh, man, Thomas.
That was awesome.
I mean, I'd do it.
Yeah, like, I mean, honestly, like, if I get the opportunity, let's just assume you and I go to some tournaments, all right, and we make some connections and potentially get the opportunity to just fill around. They need somebody to come in and help. I might just ask the question, can I wear?
Can we wear watermelons?
Like, would you be mad? Would it be harmful to your company's image for me to wear a watermelon in the middle of Seddon's Fairway?
Imagine like talking to like Dave Dunapace about that.
Look, David, just like, that's a great idea.
Have you thrown the it?
Everybody thought Ed Hedrick had good old Steady Ed had some good inventions. Thomas Hampton is coming at you with the new wave of disc golf. Head protection. So that's my top 5 for the week.
You were right. It was an absolute banger.
Yeah, good one, and all in good fun. And I would not discuss this topic if I had any hesitation or doubt. that Dave was fine.
Yes,
and it really does beg the question. I mean, there should probably be head protection out there, like at each company's discretion how they do it. But it is a legitimate need when you see something like that. You realize a need that you didn't notice that you need before.
Oh, no doubt. And so glad he's okay, but this is an opportunity for the Pro Tour to grow. So it's good stuff.
Fun little top 5. So
yeah, that's the podcast. We'll be back next week. We'll probably talk a little bit about Texas States, but it'll be
I'd say a shorter podcast. We'll hit a couple.
maybe a little more off-season style. We've hit some fun topics that
Right.
happened.
We'll have a after Texas State's is over 2 weeks. We'll have 1 week off before Music City. So we'll have 1 week this doesn't. We're gonna be there.
We'll be there Friday and Saturday.
Bingo bango. I may be there. So it just depends. With family in town, I may stay to see the grandparents a little more. So we'll see what happens. But we'll be there at the very least Friday and Saturday. We're excited to watch it.
Yeah, and if you see us, come say hi. We'd love to meet y'all. But thanks so much. That's the end of the podcast.
Appreciate it. See you guys.